Hello, everybody, and welcome back to your Energy Booster Podcast. This is Janice, your guide on this journey of personal and spiritual growth. In our third episode of the December series, we delve into a theme that lights up the darkest of winters if you are here in the US. Hope. The light in December. During this season, as nights grow longer, yeah, I can just imagine, when I go to work at 6 a.m., it's still dark. And when I'm leaving work at 7 in the evening, it's still dark. So basically, the dark, darker days are longer than, the days with sunshine. That's what we experience here in the US. Well, during this time, hope shines like a beacon in the darkness. Let's begin with an inspiring verse. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope will fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Wow, what a beautiful verse. You see, hope is not just wishful thinking. Mm-mm. It's a lifeline, a force that propels us forward. And I remember a time in my life when hope felt distant. It was when my American dream seemed to be delayed or maybe wasn't happening at all. It was in it was back in 2008 when US had a bad recession and they stopped processing green card visa. Man, I was hoping to be in America at that time and I couldn't. But then I was redirected and went to Saudi Arabia instead due to, let's face it, frustration and desperation. Turned out I met my husband there and I did learn new skills and lessons. Yeah, I did lose hope. I gave up on that American dream. But guess what? God didn't. It was just a delay. You see, He didn't have plan B in our lives. God has no plan B for us. And that's very enlightening, knowing that God has only one plan for our life. So in 2018, I arrived here in the US. 10 long years of waiting, maybe. I don't know because I was just so preoccupied with a lot of things already at that time. And it didn't seem like I really waited. It just happened. And yeah, what a wonderful story or testimony to never, never, ever lose hope. In the book of Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, he is a Holocaust survivor, and he writes about finding hope in the most hopeless of places. He says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Indeed, his words remind us that hope is often found in our ability to endure and transform. We cannot control the outside world. We just can't. But we can change ourselves to change our situation. Say the story of Noah and the ark in Genesis. Yeah, in the book of Genesis. This story is a powerful testament to hope. Like he waited for years and years, and there was no flood, no rain, no sign of flooding. But he kept on going despite everyone was laughing at him like this guy was crazy. How could he build that ark in front of his yard, telling everybody to get in the ark because there was a flood coming? And like, hello. And yeah, he built the ark for years and waited for years until one day God, yeah, God delivered his promise. Despite the world's chaos and destruction, Noah's hope in God's promise led him to build the ark, ultimately preserving life. So it was his obedience and hope that he was able to save his family. And not only his family, but the human race and all that's in it, the animals and everything alive. Noah saved it. This story teaches us that hope is an act of faith and resilience, to just believe and to hold on to God's promises. So, how can we cultivate hope in our lives? Here are some practical suggestions that I can share. Number one, set small goals. Achieving small goals, tiny mini goals, can boost your confidence, right? Over mega goal. I mean, we can set goals like a big goal and then divide it into 4 mini goals, one step at a time. And, once we do it, we can then hope for bigger challenges. Number two, help others. Sometimes being a source of hope for others renews our own, right? Number three, connecting with stories of resilience. Reading or listening to stories of people overcoming adversity can inspire hope. Yeah, that's why I love reading books or listening to audiobooks and podcasts. And yeah, because it inspires me to never lose hope once I hear these stories. like dreams coming true despite of huge challenges. It's just so inspiring to know that there is hope despite of the darkness, or yeah, desperation. There's hope despite of desperation. And then, of course, yeah, have mindful practices. You know, you can have, or you can spend time to be quiet and reflect on, those answered prayers that you now have, to remind you that God will never leave you. He will always deliver. He will always give you what is for you. So remember that. And yeah, I would love to hear what gives you hope. Share your stories or practices that help sustain your hope on our social media platforms, or send me an email, or write me a comment wherever you are getting this podcast. Could it be in YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or yeah, you can send me email at genie0419 at yahoo.com. You can send me a DM on my social media platforms in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or when you find this link in my platforms, you can shoot me a comment so we can talk about it. And I would love to hear from you, and I would love to know you better and hear your stories, because I want to be inspired by you as well. So, as we conclude today's episode, let's remember that hope is the light that guides us through the darkest times. It's the assurance that no matter what we face, there's potential for growth, change, and renewal. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I will quote, "But I know somehow that only when it is dark, or dark enough, can you see the stars." What a beautiful word. So thank you so much for joining me on your Energy Booster podcast. Next week, we will explore the profound theme of love. Until then, keep the light of hope burning bright in your happy, happy hearts. I love you, and God bless.